1. What's up, guys? How's it going? Ryan here, back with you again this week for This Week in Hearthstone, episode number 7. I've got a lot of news to actually cover and a lot of things to talk about this week. As you guys know, Rostacon's Rumble comes out pretty quick here over on December 4th. So there's been a bunch of news and stuff, and the episodes are going to probably be a bit long for the next 2 to 3 weeks. We may even do a special episode depending on when the next episode of this, or the last episode before the expansion comes out, just because we want to cover all the cards and stuff like that. So yeah, bear with me here right now. Episodes are going to be a little bit longer, but I'm assuming if you guys listen or watch the podcast, you'll be more than delighted as a fan. Speaking of listening, we are on Spotify and iTunes for any new or returning listeners to the podcast. So go check that out. The links to the podcast are in the description show notes down below. So you can go check that out. And remember to follow on either Spotify or iTunes. What that will do is you will be automatically notified when a new episode is uploaded and will be available for download as well. So that way you don't have to worry about it. You can set it and forget it. When a new episode comes out, you'll be able to listen to it right when it comes out. So it's pretty convenient. And then lastly, before we really dive into everything, don't forget that you guys can rate the podcast. And that really helps me. It makes it so that people who don't follow my social media or, are just totally in Spotify or iTunes searching for stuff to listen to, they will be able to find the podcast easier through the SEO. So it gives the podcast a little bit more legitimacy, so it bumps us up in the search rankings as well. So don't forget that if you guys can, rate the podcast if you'd like. It would be super helpful to do. Anyway, guys, let's jump into the news. We actually have a ton of stuff to go through. We have about about 5 articles to go through, 2 of them being card reviews, which will be saved for the end of the show. But the first article here is not actually something that has an article, but it's kind of the elephant in the room. So let's dive right in. So the Artifact Draft Tourney actually happened this past weekend. If you guys missed it, it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Artifact is kind of the elephant in the room right now. The game does come out on November 28th of this month, so it's approaching pretty fast. And it's been dubbed a lot of things. It's, I think, one of the first card games that I can remember that's had a lot of hype and that has really just been pushed by a big major developer. I mean, besides like Magic the Gathering Arena, but I don't really consider Magic the Gathering Arena like a hardcore CCG. It's mostly an extension of the paper format, right? So it's just trying to carve out a little piece of the pie, but mostly they're going to try to be focusing on the actual paper card game. So Artifact is really one of the big competitors that Hearthstone is facing right now. It has a lot of big names backing it. Richard Garfield, the guy who pretty much created Magic the Gathering, and he's created other pretty popular card games as well, is one of the designers for the game. I believe the head designer of the game. So, it would be pretty, weird to not talk about it and stuff like that on this podcast. We've heard this many times before. Oh, Shadowverse is going to overtake Hearthstone. Gwent is going to take over Hearthstone, etc., etc. Before we really dive into the tournament preview and, from that go into the pay model for Artifact and stuff like that, I just want to say that my initial thoughts and impressions of Artifact is that it's not going to take anyone away from Hearthstone who's currently playing, in my opinion. I feel like the people who want more of a hardcore experience and a better type of more in-depth card game have probably already left Hearthstone, and I don't think that it will be capturing the casual market, in my opinion. But I think the two can definitely coexist, like we see with many other genres of games. Right? We have different formats of battle royale, we have different formats of team shooters, stuff like that, and they can both, I believe, coexist equally. The draft tournament happened this week. It's pretty interesting because it is draft. If you guys didn't know, a lot of the pro players from Hearthstone, Magic, Gwent, and Dota 2 pros were given select keys. The game's been in closed beta right now for about a year, actually, which is pretty surprising. But yeah, so in the game itself, there is a tournament mode, which we'll get more into, but that's pretty much the main crux of the game. And the biggest thing that is that you can do within the game as well. Um, so um, the the game supports tournament drafts, which I think is really interesting. Apparently, according to people that have been in the beta right now, constructed is pretty boring, but draft is where it's at for tourneys. So it's cool that it sees support for this, and I wish something like this would be created for Hearthstone, because Arena in Hearthstone is really just this fun little game that you can play. But besides the leaderboards, like who really cares, right? There's no real tournament findings or results within the Hearthstone arena. So it's pretty cool to see Artifact having a draft tournament and a lot of the pros being like, yeah, this is really fun. This is really good. So, the tournament peaked at a pretty big thing. You know, it peaked at about 30,000 viewers when it first started. Um, Kind of getting out the technical issues out of the way, I did have a couple of gripes with the game. Unfortunately, because the casters and the people who are playing the game itself had been playing for a year, they did preview, I believe, Life Coach's draft and a couple other people's drafts, and they just went very, very, very fast. Too fast to explain what every card did and stuff like that. And the stream itself started off with like an hour of talking or so, which I think I don't mind, but it would have been a great opportunity to kind of say, hey guys, I know a lot of you guys do not have the game. Here's how you play. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. I have researched Artifact, but I haven't really gone super in depth with the game. I do have a little bit of an understanding how the game goes from a big picture standpoint, but from a small picture standpoint of why you choose this card over this card, I have really no idea. So unfortunately, the draft had been done super quick, as well as the casting. I wish that with the casting they would have explained a little bit more of how the game works and why the thought process behind certain things. They were getting hyped when certain players did certain combos or move sets with their cards, and I was just like, "Wait, why?" Like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening! What the heck? Blah blah blah! This is amazing!" And it was like, "Wait, why?" The game definitely isn't as, I guess, in my opinion, as watchable as something like Hearthstone, where you can kind of tell what is already going on. You kind of need to be able to play the game and all that. Because of that, though, the tourney did peak at around 30,000 players. It was not streamed on the official Artifact Twitch account or whatever, so that might have had something to do with it. But I think by the end of the weekend, it was only around 7 to 8K viewers, which is still a very sizable amount for this game. I just wish, and from what I heard, the casting did get better, but the games that I checked out over the course of the tournament, it just seemed like the casting was assuming that you had already played the game, and players were still playing relatively fast. But overall, I thought it was a cool experience. Um, I'm not going to. I'm not 100% certain if I will be purchasing Artifact, and that kind of gets into the next topic of the game, is that the economy is now explained within Artifact. There's a link in the show notes below to a video that Kriparian, the Hearthstone arena streamer and content creator, made, and it's a pretty good video. Not very long; it's about 12 minutes, where he kind of explains the economy of Artifact. And yeah, let me just run you through that really quick right now. So the game itself is not going to be a free to play game. The game itself is going to cost you around $20. Is going to cost you $20. With that, you'll get a handful of packs, and you'll get basically 2 starter decks to play with. So keep that in mind as well. That unfortunately, it's not going to be a free download. You will have to pay to get into it. On top of that, packs are going to cost $2, and they're going to come with 12 cards with at least 1 rare in them. So that's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal. Keep in mind as well that there is only 2 types of rarities, basically just commons and rares, and that's it. There's no epics or legendaries like you see in Hearthstone, so keep that in mind. Unfortunately, though, this is where things kind of get a little bit confusing, and I think where Artifact kind of falls flat, in my opinion, but other people may see it differently, and there's arguments for both sides of it. and I'm just going to express what was expressed in the Cryptarian video, and you guys can make your own assumptions or, come to your own conclusion about the game. The game does not have a crafting system like in Hearthstone. So as you guys know, in Hearthstone, if you get an extra duplicate card, since you can only have 2 in a deck, you can disenchant it and get some free dust and then craft cards that you want to. There is no type of crafting system in this game. What you'll have to do is put your extra copies up on the Steam marketplace to sell. Keep in mind that this is not trading. This is literally just like selling like CSGO skins, where you can post a skin up and then sell it to somebody for a price that you think the skin is worth. It will then sell on the Steam marketplace. Valve will take a 15% cut of the transaction, and then you will get in-game, or you will get Steam currency basically, right? A Steam gift card, whatever you want to call it. So keep that in mind. There is no way to trade in this game, so you can't say, hey, I want to offer this card and I want to trade for this, or hey, make me a trade offer on this. From what I understand and from what I know, this could be debunked. So that's kind of a little disappointing. There is some good and bad about this, though. Basically, for players that come into the game late, maybe a year or 2 years from now, and they really want to play the game, it's probably going to be pretty cheap. I like the concept or idea that you can probably buy a lot of the commons or a lot of the rare, like at least a lot of the common cards for probably cents, even less. And the rares are going to be pretty decent as well to be able to just purchase what you want to buy. So this is all fine and well if you want to pay. Unfortunately, it's not a want. It's more you have to pay. There is no free in-game currency like in Hearthstone. So in Hearthstone, right, you can buy packs for real money, or you can just grind a lot and receive in-game currency, which you then will be able to use to buy packs for free. There is none of that in Artifact. When you pay the $20 for Artifact, the cards that you get from the 2 decks and the packs is what you are going to get. You are going to have to sell your extras, and to obtain more cards, there are no daily quests, there are no pack rewards, there are no ways to just get free packs. As of now, right? This could change. There might be events in Artifact where you can get free packs. There might be login bonuses, but none of that stuff exists right now. So that's one of the problems that I have with the game currently, is that you will have to be able to pay $20 already to get into the game. Then if you want to buy commons or rares or cards in general, you have to. There's no way to obtain them for free by playing the game casually or by grinding. Yeah, the prices will be pretty cheap, I would assume, but since there's only 2 rarities, the rares are going to go up and down pretty hardcore. The commons will probably be pretty cheap to purchase, but unfortunately, that's one of my gripes that I have. I'm already spending money on Hearthstone, right? And I don't really see myself spending a lot of money in Artifact. I wouldn't want to juggle 2 card games like that. But yeah, it has its pros and cons. Obviously, the more expensive the deck, the better it is. So there is that factor in it as well. But like I said earlier, if you are late to the game by a year or something like that, and you want to jump into the game, it'd probably be pretty cheap to jump into the game and buy cards as well, since you won't have to buy packs. So keep that in mind with the economy. On top of that, another thing that I wanted to mention as well is that there are a handful of modes within Artifact that are playable. There is pretty much just casual rank, or casual, I guess, quick match, right? It's casual constructed, I should say, and casual arena. So in both modes, you just, pick a deck, you play. In casual arena, you basically draft a deck. I should call it draft, but in casual draft, you draft a deck, you play. There are no rewards for this. Now, both those modes are free to enter into, which is fine and well. Unfortunately, there is no rank system or ladder system within Artifact as of right now. You just kind of play. There's maybe a hidden MMR, sure, but it's not displayed. There's no legend rank or rank that signifies, oh, I'm plat, I'm gold, I'm diamond, or whatever. You just kind of queue up and you just play. Now, beyond that, there are a few other modes, which are all you have to pay an entry fee. There's pretty much, because the focus, like I said earlier when I was talking about this, is tournaments. Tournaments are going to be the main focus of this game. So there's going to be 8, 16-man, 32, and I believe 64. Probably that can be corrected at some other time, but I believe those are the modes that are in the game. You will need to pay entry fees for these as well. So there is Destructed, there is basically an arena draft, and then there's a keepsies arena draft, where basically what that means, if you've never played draft before or gone to a Friday Night Magic, the cards that you draft within the last mode, you will be able to actually keep and be added to your collection. These will cost various amounts of entry tickets, which we don't have a price on how much these entry tickets are going to, how much it's going to cost, or how many it's going to cost to enter these tournaments. But one entry ticket is $1. Just keep that in mind. So they haven't confirmed, the prices of these from what I understand and from what my research showed, but keep that in mind as well. That it might be 3 entry tickets. That's $3 to enter this tournament, and you give this money to Valve. Valve takes everyone's money. They put it into a prize pool. They take 15%. Remember, because it is a transaction through Valve, so a 15% transaction. From that, you will get packs and Steam credits depending on how well you do in these tourneys or how well you do in your arena runs, etc., etc. Once again, I just need to reiterate it because I know that a lot of people are going to tend to forget. I'm not trying to bash the game, but remember, there is no in-game currency in this game. So you will need to buy your event tickets or, use your packs themselves or whatever it might be to get into these tournaments. There is no way to do daily quests or to grind out free currency to just get a free entry into these tournaments. That's kind of one of the reasons I'm kind of a little put off from Artifact. I would love to have some type of free-to-play model within the game, which is great. Just because, if I can't earn in-game currency by just playing casual or whatever, and I have to enter these tournaments, I have to ante up some money for them. And, they reward more packs. They reward all this stuff, which is great. But then it's like, okay, well, I'm bored with my constructed deck. I'm bored with having this free arena that really doesn't give me any rewards anyway. What do I got to do? I got to pay money. I don't know. So keep that in mind. I'm probably going to get a lot of controversy, a lot of hate for it, but it is something to keep in mind that is going to be the economy as of right now in Artifact. It is not a free-to-play game. Do not say that it is a free-to-play game. It is definitely far from it. And we'll see how it goes. Keep in mind that the game comes out on the 28th, and then keep in mind that as of this recording, 2 days from now, November 17th, 2018, the NDA will be lifted for people who are in the closed beta, as well as a bunch of invites have been sent out to people who have signed up for Artifact. So keep that in mind as well, that on Saturday the 17th, streamers, prominent streamers will be able to finally stream the game. It will then be in closed beta, for until the 28th, and then it will be live to everyone else. Once again, $20 to play the game. So, hold off. You can download it or pre-order the game right now, but why? You don't get any bonuses for pre-ordering, etc. So wait a couple days, check out the game. Maybe for you, may not be, but I just wanted to kind of give everyone a heads up of that's how the economy is in Artifact. Anyway, this isn't an Artifact podcast, Ryan. This is a Hearthstone podcast. I know that, but we had to go over that and talk about that since it is the elephant in the room. And we'll probably be keeping tabs on it, this podcast as well, see how it's doing, etc. But yeah, so let's move on to the next topic. We're going to kind of go from just kind of like the least interesting or the ones that are PSAs to pretty much the new card reviews. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, card reviews will be at the end of the podcast. So next up, we have the Brawl for this week, which came out obviously yesterday on Wednesday. It is a new Brawl called a Tumultuous Shift. It is a so keep in mind it is a brand new Brawl. The reward for this Brawl is just a classic pack. Unfortunately, no other stuff happens. And this Brawl comes from the Kobolds and Catacombs priest called Tumultuous. If you don't remember what that is a 7-mana 6/6 legendary dragon with the card text that reads Battlecry. Your opponent takes 2 turns, then you take 2 turns. So basically, that's how the Brawl works. You build yourself a standard deck, and then you take 2 turns in a row every time. You take 2 turns, then your opponent, then you, and etc. It just keeps kind of swapping off from that. Pretty much a lot of the decks that are being played are combo decks. The one I made was just like some weird hand buff paladin or something like that and tried to do it with that. The decks that are recommended through the article that is linked is basically Exodia Mage, Mana OTK decks, Death Rattle Hunter OTK decks or whatever. It's an okay Brawl, but in my opinion, there wasn't much replayability after the first day. I do enjoy the brawl system, but unfortunately, just some of them aren't that replayable, and this is one of them that I felt was not replayable. But get in there, before Sunday, grab your pack, play against your friends, grab that classic pack, and hopefully you open something up. Unfortunately, I realized a couple of weeks ago that the classic pack I opened then got me the last card I needed in classic set. So now everything I'm just getting is just extra dust. So you either get your card pack or get your 40 dust. Whatever comes first. Take a drink of water here, and we'll continue. So next up, we have an article that was released earlier this week, which was a Hearthstone dev interview. This was actually one of the top articles on the Hearthstone subreddit. A man was able to interview them, etc. So link to this article will be in the description as always, and you can check out the full article because it's a pretty long Q&A. It just gave a little bit of insight into Rostacon's Rumble, and how it went. Basically, someone on Reddit had a chance to sit down with Peter Whalen and Liv Breeden to talk about the new Hearthstone expansion at BlizzCon. Keep in mind the interview, had a few little things here and there which they've outlined in this post, but overall, I read the whole interview. There was nothing really that stuck out. It was at a BlizzCon. There were probably people surrounding this person, so it wasn't the right time to ask certain questions. And really, BlizzCon interviews and all that stuff, it's a PR stunt, right? They're trying to promote the game and get people hyped about the game. So the interview was kind of lackluster, and it kind of, gave us a cool little insight into everything, at least. But work started on Rostacon's Rumble back in early January. Says, unsurprisingly, Battle for Azeroth inspired the set. The team didn't feel constricted by using it. Lots of cool characters. Spirit cards will be available in Arena. If you guys don't remember what spirit cards do, those are the 1 mana 0/3 cards that start stealthed, and then they have certain type of effects that happen after that turn. The shrine mechanic is only for the single player content. The single player content called Rostacon's Run. There are these shrines that always start on your board, and they do some pretty cool and crazy things. Those will not actually be cards. And then they also said, starting with kobolds and catacombs, they learned that build around cards are better when they are easier to obtain, rare. So yeah, that's the reason why these spirits cards are all going to be rare, which you can put 2 of them in. I think it's one of the things that the design team has kind of shifted from, and Hearthstone has kind of shifted to as well. There's been a long-standing complaint that all the fun cards or all the cool cards or all the new mechanical cards, most of them are epics or legendaries, right? Because now we get 2 class legendaries. So it's smart that they are making some of these cool new mechanics like rares or whatever. Even if you don't get some lucky pulls, you'll be able to at least play with the new mechanics and test them out. Says, using their newfound knowledge on build-arounds, this set gave players a cheap and expensive version of the same build around to keep it more accessible, right? So spirits, which are the rare cards, and Loas, which are your class legendary card, as well. They are not opposing to bringing back older keyworks or mechanics we love, such as Reno Jackson and Cthulhu and Inspire. So that's one of the things that I've kind of not liked about Hearthstone is that they'll introduce a mechanic and they will never come back, because from what they say as developers and game designers, they want every new expansion to have its own kind of flavor to it, right? So we'll never, we haven't seen Jouskin. Really, the only ones that have really returned are Discover was a really good one that has been kept around and pretty prominent. And, I believe Rush as well from last expansion, but those are pretty general broad terms. I would love to see Overkill stay around. I think it's a great mechanic and it kind of reminds me of Trample. So I wouldn't be surprised if that stuck around as well. And then they said, we're going to see pirates in the set, but not all of them will be cheap to play. Pirates are still an aggressive archetype, though. So Monka S to that. Hopefully there isn't some crazy new aggro decks that are killing us all. But yeah, pretty simple interview. You can check out the link below and in the description, and check out the full interview. Next up, and this is kind of what I was saying at the top of the podcast, but Rostacon's Rumble complete card reveal schedule. So if this is your first time back in Hearthstone, There is a card reveal schedule. What that means is that from just certain dates before the expansion, they will pretty much show and release every single card through various forms, various websites, sometimes through streamers, sometimes through websites, sometimes by Twitter, social media, etc. Um, so they've compiled all the places where these schedules are. You can go to the official blog to check out who is revealing what. But just some notes to keep in mind. Reveal kicks off next Monday, November 19th, with a live stream. So there will be a live stream. It will feature Peter Whalen and a YouTuber slash content creator called Regis Kilbin, and this will be the first card reveal. It will be over on the official Hearthstone Twitch, which is twitch.tv/playhearthstone, next Monday, November 19th at 10 a.m. PST. So, they'll be able to see new Rumble cards and some gameplay, etc. There will probably be a pretty big dump of cards that are going to be revealed, usually about 10 or so usually get revealed. So Thursday's episode is going to be pretty crowded because we're going to be mostly just jamming these card reviews out as quick as possible. From there, we pretty much have a new card really getting released like every 2 to 3 hours from various time zones, at least. Usually they release about maybe 5 to 6 cards a day, so I'm kind of exaggerating. But it looks like here on 11/20, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 11/21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's like 5 after that. So it's a pretty big handful of cards being released every single day, and that will go until 11/27. And then the reveal concludes with the stream on Wednesday, November 28th at 10 a.m. PST with Dean and Brian Kibler. And then usually what happens after that is any cards that were not able to be shown off during the final reveal stream, they usually dump them all on Facebook or on their website or wherever that might be. So we'll be doing a lot of card review here in the next coming, weeks here. And reminder that the expansion comes out December 4th, so that's why they're kind of condensing it all. But yeah, keep that in mind. A lot of cards are being revealed. Sorry if the podcast episodes get a little bit longer. Check out the reveal schedule. They all have links to the people that they go to or whatever, which is pretty neat. Some go to Twitter, some go to websites, some go to Twitch streams and stuff like that, and they have their reveals and stuff like that. So it's probably pretty handy to be able to hold on to this link to see when these cards are revealed. Also, a lot of these card images are zoomed in images of the card that's supposed to be revealed, so you guys can also predict, what's coming out and stuff like that. 11/22, there looks to be a Murloc that's coming out. There's some cool card art that is coming out as well. So check that out. Next up, and probably the best part about these episodes so far, have been new cards being revealed. We'll actually go, this is kind of out of order in the show notes, but we'll go from the earliest card to the latest cards being revealed. The first one that we have up is called Belligerent Gnome, which is a rare minion. You can check out, this was actually revealed on the official Play Hearthstone YouTube through one of those short animated videos. So if you want to check out the card and how it was revealed on there, go for it. Kind of like last week how the Paladin card was revealed as well. You can check out the video. But it is a rare minion, a 2-mana 1/4 taunt called Belligerent Gnome. It has a card text that reads, Taunt Battlecry. If your opponent has 2 or more minions, gain +1 attack. I think it's a pretty good card. I know the memes are going to be like Silverback Gorilla or whatever that card's called. You have failed me or whatever. It's interesting that it is a taunt or whatever, but if your opponent has 2 or more minions, gain +1 attack. I mean, it's pretty much just a way to stop aggro decks, and it being a neutral is going to probably find its way into a lot of decks or whatever. I think it's a really good card, actually. I think that it's going to be pretty good for Arena as a 2-drop. I think that it's also going to be a pretty viable option as well for for Constructed as well, right? It's I feel like this really is going to be countering just like Odd Paladin in general or whatever, right? They hero power, you play this or whatever, they already can't come back unless they have a weapon to swing. Either way, it destroys some little pally duders and tokens. So overall, I think it's a pretty good card. Hearthstone also says that it was rated very good / playable / meta defining. Next up, and actually the last article for today, we did have 2 priest cards that were revealed actually today on Thursday. Once again, they were revealed through an actual video, which is actually a pretty cool video. It's about 12 minutes long or whatever, with Dave Kozak, one of the mission designers or single player content creators on the Hearthstone team. But he went through kind of the lore of the Loa, of the spirits, and kind of just the lore of the whole Rostakon's Rumble. So you guys can go check that out as well and check out the video. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool little insight that was given. But 2 cards were released from this video. So they were both also priest cards, which I thought was interesting as well. So the first one is Spirit of the Dead. It is a spirit card, obviously, right? Remember what those do? But it is a 1 mana 0/3 priest card. It's a minion, and it has a card text that reads Stealth. For 1 turn, after a friendly minion dies, shuffle a 1 cost copy of it into your deck. Let me repeat that again. So Stealth for 1 turn. After a friendly minion dies, shuffle a 1 cost copy of it into your deck. This is a very good card. It might be a little slow to play if you already have a pretty big board, but this is a very good card, and is also probably is the reason why they're trying to create Death Rattle, make Death Rattle Priest viable. But even in decks like Big Priest and stuff like that, Wild, I can see this being a super good card, and it's also rare, which means you can have 2 of these in your deck. It's probably more for late game, but I think it's super good to it's just very, very, very good card. Whatever, 4 out of 5 for sure. I really enjoy this card. The reason why I say that though is because of the secondary card that was also announced alongside of Spirit of the Dead, which is the priest Loa also got announced. It's a 7 mana 7/7 legendary called Bonsomdi the Dead. In its card text reads Battlecry. Draw 1 cost minions from your deck until your hand is full. I definitely think that this is a playable card, but if it's not used with the card synergy of Spirit of the Dead, then it might not be that good as well. It's kind of a late game type of card, right? You would have to probably use this on 9 or 10, but I can see this being used in Control Priest or in Death Rattle Priest to pull those 1 mana minions out if you still need them around. But overall, I think it's a great card. I definitely will be hoping to get this card during my unpacking of all the new cards. But yeah, overall, really, really enjoy this card. But yeah, guys, that is it for this week's episode of This Week in Hearthstone. Thanks so much for hanging out and chilling with me and being part of this week's episode. Like I said, bear with me, guys. It is card reveal season, so a lot of the episodes, especially, this is just a taste of what you're going to have to deal with. In the next week, 2 weeks, card reveal season is going to be pretty nuts. Keep in mind as well that we do celebrate Thanksgiving here in America, next week. So we may have to push the episode a day early for you guys, and we'll figure out how that will work next week. But yeah, you can find those updates about when the changes are going to happen through all my social media, like that transition. But you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Ryan Kubo, RyanKubo. That's for Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. And for YouTube, you can check out the VODs. All unedited VODs are uploaded there. For the podcast at SHIGEOS, Shigeos, Twitch TV, all one word, all lowercase. If you want to find updates about this podcast and just about this podcast and don't care about my food pictures or my selfies on my personal accounts, you can also follow the podcast on Twitter at TWI Hearthstone. So This Week in Hearthstone, basically. Thank you guys, though, so much for this episode of This Week in Hearthstone. This is the end of episode 7. I will see you guys most likely a little bit early next week. And until then, guys, take care. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Peace.